G'day and welcome back to the Behind the Tech Desk podcast. My name is Jake.
My name's Dale, and we're here with a really special guest today. It is the one and only Ryan Brennan.
Hello.
Hello, Ryan.
Was that better?
Yeah,
that was great.
That was
Yeah,
way better.
perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. You go.
So we've heard you're going on a bit of a tour soon, and we kind of want you to talk us through like a little bit about what that entails. Like, what's your role when you go on a tour with a band like you are, and what band are you going on tour with?
I'm away with a couple of different bands the next couple of months. I'm touring nationally and into New Zealand with a band called South Summit. They're a indie rock reggae, I guess is what they call themselves, band from Perth. What is my role? So generally I am front of house operator, so I mix the bands from the front of house. I usually am a tour manager as well, which involves a lot of stuff, and then also driving all the vehicles generally.
Sounds super exciting.
It's so exciting.
Just driving every vehicle.
Yeah.
Are you going to take the planes over as well? Is that part of your...
Am I going to drive the plane?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was part of the thing. I had to have a pilot's license.
It really makes the travel between venues much easier when you can just pull the plane up right
in front.
Yeah. Just right out the front. Everyone in. We can take a lot of stuff that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's an easier load in and out because you've got all the gear right there on the plane.
Push it straight onto the plane, you're good to go.
I just think the fact they can afford a plane is quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that really speaks to what kind of tier of band you're touring with, right?
Exactly.
Like, how big is your plane?
It's not that big.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
just a little Cessna.
We can't all have big planes.
It's one of those dual wing prop things where everyone has to sit on the edge.
Yeah.
Through the air.
So tell us a little bit about your role as a live sound lecturer at SE.
As a sound lecturer. My role here is that I teach people about sound.
So, I guess boring into that a little bit more. What kind of things are you teaching the students? Like, is it like you're going from the start to the finish of a show, or do you have a way of like prioritizing what you would say the more important parts are?
Yeah, so earlier on in their studies, it's really just talking about the basics of what is live sound. If I can teach everyone by the end of week 13 how to roll a cable, they can probably get a job.
Can probably get a job. That's what we're really hoping for at SE, that you can probably get a job.
You can probably get a job. Well,
you can probably roll a cable.
Try two. The end of try two, they could go out and get work, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So basics, how it is different from studio work, the crossovers, the things that you need to learn to actually go out and work at events, not just music events, AV events. Yep. You guys probably know a lot about that. Other kind of things that involve sound pretty much. And then as they progress, they work through to a point where they're running an entire show.
Yeah, awesome.
Actually, that happens in Try 2 as well, but in Try 5, they'll do one they do everything. I sit back and watch.
So what was the process of getting into touring life like for you? Like what was your roadmap, I suppose? And what was I guess if you have one, the big event that led to you being a touring engineer?
That's a good question.
Do you mean SkyMap, by the way? He takes planes to all of his gigs. It would be his SkyMap.
Fair point, yeah.
I
think you were really losing me at the start.
What is he?
I'm really sorry. That was quite a rude host.
I thought we were talking about some sort of video game or something. Then I was like, what are we on about? What was... So, it kind of just happened.
I feel like a lot of live events it kind of just happens.
I feel like I've worked in studios and live sound for a long time. I was very young, like 15, working on weekends at events. Did the classic thing where you work for an AV company, go out and do a pile of weddings, corporate shows, small festivals, things like that. Then got away from live sound for a while, spent a long time in studios in the UK and Sydney, and then was living with a friend who needed someone to do some shows, and I was like, cool, I can help out, do a few live shows again. I hadn't done any for a little while. Did a couple of random local things. They liked that. I thought maybe I'll do some more work because I was a bit quiet in the studio at the time. Started working for a PA staging company in Sydney, doing that hand in hand with like studio work during the week, that on weekends when I could. And then still just helping out friends and other bands. I mean, I was playing all the time as well, so meeting people and going like, oh, you do sound, you want to mix our show? Like, it might be better if you know the music, all those things. So started working with bands, I guess. And from that, a good friend of mine started going to bigger, or performing at bigger and bigger shows. And I was asked, actually my first tour, I was asked to come to Europe 3 weeks before the tour for a 6-week tour for $1,000.
That's
And I said yes. Why did I say yes? I don't know.
I mean, I guess the money aside that you made for 6 entire weeks is a pretty huge opportunity to go to Europe.
Yeah.
was it sort of an expenses paid deal? Or
Yeah,
was it,
I didn't spend anything.
Yeah.
I got per diems. For people that don't know, per diems are little bits of cash to buy your food and things like that every day. Was I looking at the right camera there?
I'm not sure.
I can't tell because there's only one light, if you didn't know.
There's one light
Yeah.
on the camera.
He comes in for one episode and criticizes our production
Every
value.
tiny detail.
Yeah, so like I didn't spend anything. Stupidly, I got back from that tour. It went really well. I kind of enjoyed it. It was my first time being a tour manager as well. Doing front of house, tour managing is basically all the organisation.
Yeah.
So I had to contact every venue, every hotel. Every flight was luckily booked by the management, but generally a tour manager does that as well. So land in Europe, drive a van, wrong side of the road, all through Europe for 6 weeks, get a little bit of per diem, buy super cheap food from random petrol stations on the side of the road.
Questionable
Yeah,
quality.
you just drink all the beer at the rider because you're like, quick drink, and then you realise you got to drive, so you're like, got to stop drinking. Come back to Australia. Tour went well. I was like, cool, I didn't mind that lifestyle. That was kind of fun. Spent my $1,000 on a Pelican case and a backpack.
That's it.
I was at the wrong camera now.
Yeah.
It's over there.
I imagine the Pelican case was about 90% of that cost as well.
No, the backpack was more.
Really?
Yeah, I bought a stupid fancy backpack that the straps are made of recycled seat belts.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's
Is
really cool,
that
actually.
backpack still kicking today?
Yeah,
or-
it's still the one I tour with. It's a great backpack.
It's actually a Pelican backpack.
It's not. But it fits a lot of stuff in it. So that's kind of handy.
So being a touring tech, the things differ a lot when you go overseas, work for bands overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm normally working with Australian bands going overseas. Each country's kind of different. I don't do a lot in the US. Actually don't do a lot overseas anymore. Now
Right.
I've kind of calmed down. Had a family. It's hard to tour all
Hard
the
to
time.
tour with a family.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so Australian touring's a lot of flying and weekends. So it's pretty rare you'll have a gig on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Yep.
Generally fly out Wednesday or Thursday, especially in WA. You're flying out all the time.
Yep.
Either late nights or stupidly early in the morning because of the time difference. And then you go and play a couple of shows in Sydney, Melbourne, wherever, fly back. And you do it again next weekend and come back and do it again. So
rather than the traditional, I guess, getting on a bus and driving around for 6 straight months or whatever, it's kind of like going to the city that you're touring in and then coming back home in this like trade-off the entire time.
I guess I'm at a point in my career where that is part of the deal if I work with someone. Smaller acts, it's a lot of money to fly everywhere. So if they can't afford to fly me back every week, then I probably won't go on the tour, which is fine. That means I don't always work with some acts, but it's cool with the ones that can afford it. When you go to Europe, it's different. A lot less flying, a lot more in a van, the classic all right, we're playing in Amsterdam tonight and then we're in Cologne tomorrow and then somewhere the next day and somewhere the next day. Weirdly, you think Europe's quite close, but it's still 6 to 8 hour drives most days. And for some reason, the booking agents book you in like the top of Europe and then down the south and then back up the top. It wouldn't have made sense to book those two first and then go somewhere else, but whatever they do. So it's a different style of touring. That's more of the classic thing. And the US is very much, I guess, what people would probably think of as the classic. Like,
Yeah.
you work with a bigger band, you start in a van, you work your way up to getting a bus.
Yep.
You all sleep on the bus. Their main person, if it's a solo act, they'll get the big room at the back that becomes a double bed, or that'll become a lounge room. You all hang out, you finish your show, you get on the bus, you sleep, the bus drives to the next venue, you get up, you do it again. So that is the classic touring kind of way. So they're the differences, I guess. That everywhere you go, it's kind of the same thing. It's hard in places you don't speak the language or they don't speak English. It gets difficult. But yeah, it's not really any different. The main thing with touring, I guess, from the tour management point of view, is just making sure that you're on time to things. Because that's all that people care about.
I think that everybody that's come on this podcast so far has said, make sure you're on time for things. That's such an
make sure you're
important part.
early.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All those people, that one, because that one's not on. No, that one.
No, because both officers, that
one. Turn up early to class. If you turn up early to class, that means you're probably going to turn up early to work.
Yeah, and the big thing is all of these lecturers that we have at SAE, they've all got huge industry experience. They've got massive amounts of contacts, maybe massive contacts themselves. These are the people you want to get in good with. So get there early, be attentive, be proactive.
Steal my contacts, is that what?
Yeah, absolutely. And steal, just steal Ryan's phone and go through.
Copy his contacts.
Yeah, copy his contacts over.
contacts.
Actually, don't even bother. Just pretend you're Ryan.
Just do it,
just
people don't know what I look like, so that's fine.
That's right. You're here and we don't know what you look like.
Exactly.
A question that's sort of burning on my mind as a musician, and I'm sure a lot of musicians around campus ask the same thing. When you're touring internationally, nobody likes to take their instruments on a plane. How does that sort of work? Is it a case of they sort of suck it up and they go over? Is there any insurance involved? They just hire instruments when they get there? Or?
So it depends on the band. When you get to bigger acts, you generally freight gear. So it's still on a plane, but you book a section of a plane basically for your gear, and that gets sent a few days early, a week early, whatever. When you're a smaller act, or actually most acts until they get pretty big do this, you just have to suck up and deal with the luggage allowance you're given. So generally that means finding the lightest guitar case as possible. In Australia, if anyone doesn't know, and if you're not, you should be APRA registered or WAM member. I think WAM members do it. And if you fly with Virgin, you send them an email, and then you get 64 kilos of luggage for free on top of your flight. As long as you book the flight with luggage. You can't book the new cheap ones. So touring in Australia, easy. You've got a 5-piece band, everyone's got 64 kilos and 4 pieces. So it's you have no problem getting your gear around. Flying internationally, it's you might be given 32 kilos max, maybe 24, 28, depending on who you're flying with. So, and sometimes it's only 2 bags or 1 bag. So you get to the airport, you go to that place where they strap up people's suitcases, and you're who does that? Why do you want to do that? The people who want to do that are musicians. Because you get your cases, you put them together, you strap it up, and now you've got 1 guitar case. That means you get another bag. I've had friends, the King Gizzard guys were telling me they got a deal with a drum endorsement when they were there at one point, and they're trying to get their drums back to Australia. And they had to literally, the floor tom legs were just getting put in the bin at the airport, because they're we're out of weight. So they're stacking drums together, throwing floor tom legs in the bin, going, well, we'll just order them again and we'll take this part with us.
Jeez Louise.
They have pretty cool guitar cases where 2 guitars go in and then pedal boards. I'm sure they've got way more now. This is a few years ago. But it's, international flying with gear is hard. I go from, these days I have a couple of cases, mics, and gear and headphones and all the other stuff, down to 1 case and my fancy backpack. And my fancy backpack has all my clothes in it for a weekend or 6 weeks. Or
it comes
whatever.
with you everywhere.
It comes with me everywhere. It literally does. It weighs way over 7 kilos when it's full. No one's ever weighed me, luckily. Because it's 14 kilo, 15 kilo bag once it's full of stuff.
This is where it starts. This is where he started. Just in the street, people are walking around with scales to chuck Ryan on.
Yeah, they're like, how heavy are you? Ooh, are you wearing your backpack? Yeah, okay.
So, we're getting close to wrapping it up, but I do want to ask just one more question. If you had a piece of advice that you could pass along to all the students who are hoping to get into, like, the world of live sound and the world of touring, what would that piece of advice be?
Learn to deal with other people's crap. Can I say crap?
You can say crap.
Oh, cool. I said it twice, so it's...
Well, that's too many.
Part of your job is not to be if you want to be a sound engineer or whatever you want to be. It's not my job to be the face of a band and be like present with an audience. My job is to make sure the show happens, and your job would be that.
Yep.
So that means you have to like put your ego aside. That's a better word to say. Put your ego to the side and accept the fact that you're there to do a job for someone else. And you're not always going to get recognition from it. But if you do a good job, people will want you to come back.
Yeah.
So just turn up early, work hard, and put your ego aside.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
You don't have to be the best sound engineer. I'm probably the worst, but I just turn up early. So then someone's like, "Well, you're here."
Might as well. I mean,
yeah. That's literally what happens. I reckon. I studied at TAFE, not at SAE, but you should study SAE.
Promo.
And there was 3 classes of like 15 people. By the time I finished, there was 1 class of 4.
Yeah.
And now, a long time later, I can't remember how long ago it was. It was a long time ago.
Don't reveal it.
There's 2 of us that work in live sound.
Yeah.
And we're both touring constantly and working with pretty big acts. But I feel like turn up early, work hard, put your ego aside, and just stick it out. And it might mean you take those weird $1,000
Europe
6-week Europe. No, don't do that. Never do that. That was not enough money. But you do those things to then get more work and stick around with it, I guess.
Yeah. It's like a ladder, and you climb.
I feel like I'm scaring people off. I'm like, you get $1,000 for 6 weeks.
I think live sound is
that's like the price of a milk these days.
What a guess. I bought my milk for that much just the other day.
Oh, God.
It is an interesting industry, as particularly live sound, where it's so like romanticized, and then you get into it and you're like, wow, this is quite hard work.
Yeah.
It's worth it, of course. But
I'm lucky that I don't have to do setups and things very often anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, both of you guys work in live sound a bit, and I know that you guys have to do setting up of equipment.
Yeah.
I'm like on the weekend, I was at a show. I literally walk in, I've got gear, hand it to someone else and say, this is going up there. And then I walk up to the desk, plug my headphones in, do this for a little bit. If you can't, my hands up high enough, there you go. Do this. And then walk away.
Well, see, that's the thing, because like you...
So it was hard work, right? I'm at a point now where I don't have to do all the hard stuff, but I'm expected that show sounds like it's expected from me that show sounds amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it doesn't, then I get yelled at by someone.
And that's the thing. Like there are definitely. Like, I'm one of those weird people who likes doing the setup, and I like doing the bump out. Funnily enough...
No one likes the bump out.
I love the bump out. I think it's one of because you're watching all of these people who've had a great time leave the venue. You get that peace and tranquility where you can roll up cables and hang out with the rest of your crew.
I always say that after a big event that I just want to be there for another 3 hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. 4 in the morning going like, I wish this went for another 3 hours. It'd be great.
Can't wait to see the sun come up.
Hey, look, I'm hourly contracted.
Maybe
so I'm happy to wait until 6 o'clock in the morning if that's what it takes.
Have you ever worked for a company that they hourly contract you, but then they'll cut you off at a certain time? They're like hourly contract until this time. I had that once, and I refused. I was like, no. Yeah. Just because you think that's how much I should be paid for the day, I'm here for an hour, like hourly rate.
I have had one of those offered, and I refused it straight away. Yeah. I was like, there is no guarantee I'm going to be out by that time, and so you shouldn't. If you're on a wage, maybe it's a different thing. But if you're at hourly rate, and then they say, "This is what you're going to get paid." Yeah. I put my hand down real hard. I heard it through the microphone.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go on. Well, I don't know what you're saying.
What were we talking about?
You like to be there late, rolling cables for some reason.
Yeah, I like to. I'm one of those people who likes to hang around and do that thing. But there's like certainly so many different aspects to live events, not just live sound. I've done a whole lot of vision stuff and a whole lot of lighting in my time as well. There's so many aspects to it where you're not super restricted, but you work your way up and you can find the position you want to be in by starting
and there's
down the
heaps
bottom.
of different positions.
I mean, I know that you, Ryan, have told some stories about your very early days in AV where you were in the warehouse pretty much all the time. And
that was fun.
Rolling leads and washing cables and...
Toothbrush. Used to clean analog consoles, all the little caps, with a toothbrush.
Yeah.
Bucket.
What a riveting day.
It was such a great day. 15-year-old kid on a sad day. Here's a bucket and a toothbrush. There's a 48-channel console.
Yep.
Take every one of those caps off and faders. Give them a little clean. Put them in some other water. Dry them. Put them all back on.
That sounds way better than my early days.
Yeah.
I remember pretty early on I was labelled as someone who was quite strong. So they were just like, that thing's really heavy. Go lift that and move it over there.
Yeah.
See, that's why I stayed small. No one makes me lift things. They're like, oh, he can't lift that.
They were like, oh, there's 100 metal plates over there. Why don't you go and move them from here to here? Yeah. Like,
I did move a lot of base plates early on in my career.
Yeah.
Base plates.
Base plates.
Yeah. If you ever talk to a live sound engineer, it's base plates.
Trussing base plates.
That made me not want to touch lighting ever.
Yeah.
Trussing and
base plates.
base plates.
And that's what we'll end the show on today. Trussing and base plates.
I see. That's on yours. Spoiled the reveal. Thanks so much for having a listen to our episode and our interview with Ryan. Make sure you give it a like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you show your mum. Make sure you show your dad. Make sure you show your Ryan. Thanks so much. And don't forget, the future is you.
Thank you.